What's up, guys? It's your girl Karma, and today we're gonna do a bit of a different video where I explain camera settings instead of a gameplay video, and I'm going to explain why I'm not doing a gameplay video today. Instead, I'm going to focus on camera settings, which is an important part of Rocket League, which some of you who play Rocket League, you may not know. Maybe some of you have looked up pro camera settings, other pro players' camera settings, and have used those instead. But today I'm going to kind of dive into camera settings, which is right here. These are camera settings. And pretty much explain my point of view on them, what I think is benefits things more than others, and just try and explain it to you guys so you guys can choose your own preferences in a camera setting. And we're going to knock this out in one take, like all my videos are. So no editing. And so basically, let's dive into a camera setting and basically take a look at what a camera setting is. So I'm going to go back to default camera settings, which is this right here. This is default camera for Rocket League, which some of you may be using, and I highly recommend that you change and kind of find your own. But default camera settings, if you go in, it's 90 FOV, you have camera shake enabled, 100 height, angle, distance, etc. And one of the first things that I recommend you do in camera settings is take off camera shake. What camera shake does is obviously just watch the camera shake every time I jump or land or go in to hit the ball. The camera adds this like cool shake effect to it, right? Which is awesome, but at the same time you don't really want that. It kind of distracts you. It takes away things that you may have been able to see. Stuff like that. So you want to go ahead and disable camera shake. That would be my first recommendation. My second recommendation is trying to find camera settings you like. You have to understand what this means. So FOV stands for field of view, which if you've played other games before, a field of view is basically like the view that you can see on your screen. So if you take this and max it out, look how much farther away the camera is and how much more distance you can see of the field. Whereas if I put it back to default, the field of view is cut in half dramatically, right? So field of view is more of a preference thing, and the way you want to determine your field of view, right, is basically it's a comfort thing. How you like your screen to look, how you like the game to feel. But if you look at the ball right now at 100 field of view, look how big it looks on the screen, okay, compared to everything else. Then you take that, put it to 110. Look how the ball looks much smaller and like less detailed. So if you're a player who is likes to be precise and has, wants to make sure you're hitting the ball at the right spot at all times, 100 FOV could be for you because it enlarges everything and basically slows the game down to a point where the 100 FOV kind of just like makes everything bigger, it makes everything a little bit slower, it makes things easier to read. But the problem with 100 FOV is that you can't see the entire field. So there are things on your screen that are happening that you are unable to see because your field of view is so small. Whereas if you increase your FOV as much as you can see more of the field, you can see more things in your peripheral visions that you wouldn't be able to see with 100 field of view. So basically field of view is a preference thing. Anywhere, typically pros play between 100 and 110. That's more of a preference thing. Again, people who are more mechanically sound, which is basically a phrase for people who like to make precise touches on the ball, know exactly what the ball is going to do when they hit it. They kind of like to play with a smaller FOV because, again, it makes things bigger and it makes things easier to see what you're doing. But the person like me, I like to see all the things that are going on around me, and I like to predict movements, predict hits, reactions, stuff like that. So I have always tried to keep 110 FOV. Another option here is height. So height is the height away from your car. Okay, so if you were to take the height and put it way up to 200, you can see how much higher you are than your car. And it gives you a lot of view over the top of what you're doing. It allows you to see over the top of the ball. But it makes it harder to dribble because you can't see where the ball is on top of you. You can't really see what's going on behind you as well, or to your sides because the ball is so high. So mainly, the height usually isn't really touched that much. Height is kind of one of those things where no one really messes with it. It hasn't really been experimented with, so maybe you could be the first to experiment with it. Usually it's between 100, 110, and 120 is what the pros typically play with. I like to play with 110, just because I like to be a little bit higher than the ground, and just allows me to dribble a little bit easier. It's just something that I've become used to. It's kind of a placebo thing. I don't think there's really much of a difference between 100 and 110. It's like maybe half an inch difference. It's just something, you know, that you have to see if you like. It's basically a preference thing, and I like having 110 just because I'm used to it and it's how I've played. Why I originally changed it to 100 from 110 is just so that I could see over the ball a tiny bit better. If you look here, if I put my height to 100, I have a hard time seeing over the ball as much when I'm dribbling. But if you bump it up to 110, I have a little bit easier of a time seeing around the ball, and then 120, even better time seeing behind the ball. It basically just increases the more height that I want to see over the ball, the better it is I can see what's going on around me, which is why I put it to 110. So that's something you can experiment with as well. Camera angle is similar to camera height in that it affects the camera behind the car and raises it and angles it differently depending on what you prefer, right? So -5 is the standard. It looks like this. Some pro players play -3, which lowers the angle a little bit, which gives you a little bit better of a car view, but doesn't really give you a better view of the field behind the ball. So if you're a dribbler and you like to practice dribbling and maybe get a little bit angle that's closer to the pitch, then -3 might be for you. Again, I've said this before, I'm a player who likes seeing the entire field. I like to kind of be on that higher set. I've experimented with -3 before, and I can't really tell which one I like more, but because I've played with -5 for so long, I'm generally going to keep it that way. But it's just another example of you can either be lower to the pitch or higher to the pitch. Is basically what the angle does. So try things out, see what you prefer. If you like to be lower to the pitch, higher to the pitch, and that could be something that you experiment with your camera. So another thing going down the line here is camera distance. Now, camera distance is one of the most intricate things, including FOV in the Rocket League camera. It basically shows how far away you are from your car. If you put your distance all the way out, look how far away you are from your car. Look how much of the field you can see. Everything is so small. It's incredibly small, and it's really hard to make precise hits. You're kind of just guessing the entire time. It's really weird to be this far away from your camera, but it is possible. It's all what you prefer. Most distances in professional Rocket League are between 240 to 300. That's most of the distance in the pro level. And that's mainly because it allows you to see a lot, but it also allows you to be close enough to your car where you can make those exact hits that you need on the ball. The ball is big enough to where you can hit it exactly where you want to create that perfect hit into the net or create the shot that you want. And then we have camera stiffness. Camera stiffness is another thing that's important in your camera, which not a lot of people know about. So if you take a look at my car when I'm supersonic, look how the camera backs away as I go faster. So right here, my camera is close to the car. As I speed up, the camera backs away. That's what stiffness is. And stiffness, basically, if you raise your stiffness, then the camera will not move as your car speeds up. It'll stay exactly the same. which I think adds to consistency. I think if you want to be a better Rocket League player, especially as a low level, you want to have the camera look the same at all times. You don't want to be speeding up and being farther away because it's going to confuse you when you're first starting play. You won't be able to see the field and read the bounces perfectly because at different speeds you're coming in at different angles. So until you get used to the bounces on the pitch and the way the ball bounces and the physics of the game, I would recommend turning your stiffness up pretty high. I play at 0.75, which backs my camera up a tiny bit, but not much where it's noticeable. Now, if you put your camera stiffness down to 0, again, it backs out really far when you're going fast. So that's just another preference thing that you kind of have to fool around with and see what you like better. 0.75 doesn't really move it at all, but it kind of moves it a little, which is why I like it. And then finally we have camera swivel speed. Camera swivel speed is just the speed at which when you toggle your right analog stick, how quickly you can look in each direction. So if you turn the camera swivel speed all the way up, then it swivels insanely fast, and that helps nobody. So that really isn't really a camera setting. It's kind of just simple stuff. You just set it to something that you can quickly check and then continue going after the ball. Is my teammate over there? Okay, good. I'm gonna make a pass, etc. Stuff like that. So that's basically the camera settings. Now I'm gonna talk about why I haven't made a 1v1 video in a while. So the reason I haven't made a 1v1 video in a while is because I decided to change my camera settings. I used to play with these camera settings right here, which is kind of a far set out camera. It's more of a defensive camera style because I can see the entire field. I'm far away from the ball, but I can't really make the exact precise touches that I want just because my camera is really far away. And I decided I was having a hard time shooting the ball, so I decided that, you know, I'm gonna change my camera up a little so that I can be closer to the ball to see if that can increase my shooting at all. So I decided to lower my distance to 260 and my stiffness to 40, which allows me to get closer to the ball while at the same time staying far enough away where I can see the entire field. And the reason that I've been refraining from making 1v1 videos is because in 1v1s, a lot of the time you have to be super used to your camera and how it works and the bounces on the ball, or you're going to have a hard time competing. And if you have a hard time competing, then the videos are not going to be fun for me to make. So until I get used to my camera again, I'm going to probably be refraining from making 1v1 videos simply because it's going to be a learning process for me, and it's really hard for me to, you know, try and teach you guys what to do when I'm still learning the camera for myself. It takes me probably about a week or two to learn a new camera. And if you've watched my stream or kept up with my streams, you can tell that I've been struggling and frustrated trying to learn my new camera because I'm just not playing as well as I would normally play while I try and learn what's going on around me. So that's going to be it for my camera video. Basically a long rant / tutorial video about camera settings and how they work. So I think you guys should kind of fool around with your own camera, see what works best for you, and the camera can really make a difference in your play in Rocket League. So let me know what you guys think. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good one, guys.